This girl was extremely harsh on herself, driven by a desire for revenge on her husband. She wasn't afraid to take risks, completely transforming herself from head to toe. She wanted her voice to sound better, and even asked the doctor to inject collagen into her vocal cords. After surgery, her appearance changed drastically. Her body became stunning, and her face was angelic. On the street, people couldn't stop staring, but no one knew that this beautiful girl was once overweight. She used to be just a cheerful person named Gan. One day, while buying fish, she accidentally fell into the fish tank, but no one around helped her. Using all her strength, she managed to climb out of it, but all the fish in the tank were crushed by her weight. Gan packed up her things and was about to head home, stopping a bus in the middle of the street. When she boarded, she stood in the aisle, but a man next to her turned away in disgust. She was sweating and her shirt was stained, so she quietly put her hands down to hide her embarrassment. Suddenly, the bus driver hit the brakes, and Gan, not holding onto anything, fell to the floor. Her groceries scattered everywhere. Struggling to stand up due to the bus's inertia, she fell again, this time onto the steps near the door. Passengers looked at her with pity, but no one helped her. This pity felt like mockery to Gan. Exhausted, she finally dragged herself home. Before she could even stand properly, her two sisters-in-law demanded she clean up their leftovers. Then her 80-year-old grandmother asked her to make dinner. For 7 years, Gan endured being treated like a servant, clinging to the hope that her husband, who was working in America, would return. Every week, she would dress up and send him videos, but her sisters-in-law ridiculed her, calling her an unsophisticated country girl. They even said her husband would run away if he saw her looking like that. One day, Gan called her husband, but was shocked to learn from his colleague that he had returned to their hometown. She rushed to the hotel where her husband was supposed to be, but found only a cleaner in the room. Confused and sad, she didn't understand why he hadn't told her. Just then, she heard a couple laughing outside the door. Gan quickly hid in the closet. What she saw next shattered her heart. Her beloved husband had betrayed her. 7 years of patience and heartbreak came flooding back. Through her tears, she came up with a desperate plan. She sought out the woman her husband was with and begged her to leave him. The woman coldly told Gan that even if she let him go, Gan wouldn't be able to keep him given her current appearance. Her husband had built a successful life after 7 years abroad, and Gan, unwilling to give up, pulled the woman's hand, pleading for forgiveness. But the woman, disgusted, pushed her away. Gan accidentally caused her to fall, and she was rushed to the hospital. Gan was then confronted by the woman's manager, who reported her to the police for assaulting a celebrity. A police officer handed her a summons, and Gan was forced to explain herself. As she stood there, her husband, who had once been her only hope, stood by the woman's side, using cold words to protect her. He then told Gan their marriage was over, removed his wedding ring, and left. Devastated, Gan returned home and confronted her mother-in-law, who admitted she had known all along about her son's decision, but didn't tell her out of fear of hurting her. Gan was heartbroken and yelled at her for being kept in the dark and treated like a fool. Her two brothers-in-law added insult to injury, saying they understood why her husband left her. Overwhelmed by pain, Gan left the house and drove off, blinded by tears, crashing into the sea. Luckily, her large frame kept her from sinking, and she climbed out, determined not to let this be the end. Gan went to a renowned plastic surgeon, hoping to become beautiful. The doctor initially wanted to refuse her, as she weighed over 100 kilograms, but Gan stubbornly insisted. She no longer cared about the risks, she wanted revenge. Moved by her determination, the doctor agreed and laid out a plan for a full-body transformation. The surgery was highly risky, and Gan's life was on the line, but she was beyond caring. She just wanted to exact revenge. The doctor repaired her entire body, even improving her voice by injecting collagen into her vocal cords. In the end, the surgery was a success. Gan emerged unrecognizably beautiful, so much so that butterflies landed on her, as if congratulating her on her new life. Grateful to the doctor, Gan served him meals every day, but he wanted more. He presented her with a contract, demanding that she follow his every order from then on. Without hesitation, Gan signed it with her blood. The doctor then devised a plan to help her get revenge, advising her to not only change her appearance, but also her inner self. She was no longer the same person. He renamed her Sarah and put her through rigorous exercise and education to sharpen her mind. After enduring many changes, Sarah was finally ready to take her revenge. Sarah stood in the distance, staring at her ex-husband's house. Her heart ached as she realized that not long after their separation, He had already brought his new lover home. The pain and anger she felt fueled her resolve. She vowed that she wouldn't allow Kong Jun and Chaein to marry. Later, Sarah returned to Tahi's house, where she accidentally came across a photo on the table. It was a picture of Tahi and Chaein. Before Sarah could ask anything, Tahi snatched the photo away, grumbling that she had no right to look at other people's things without permission. However, Sarah persisted in her questioning, and after a deep sigh, Tahi revealed the truth. He wasn't actually the orthopedic surgeon who had performed Sarah's surgery. It had been his younger brother, Chaein. It turned out, was Tahi's childhood sweetheart. Suddenly, everything clicked for Sarah. With a shared purpose, she and Tahi quickly became close, and their plan to seek revenge officially began. Their first move was at Kong Chun's charity event, where Sarah, dressed in a gorgeous gown, became the center of attention. Tahi, posing as a waiter, observed from behind, discreetly instructing Sarah. Before long, Kong Chun's eyes fell on Sarah, and Tahi believed the bait had been taken. He continued guiding Sarah from afar. But just when it seemed like everything was working, Kong Jun turned away, uninterested, and walked off, leaving the first phase of the plan a failure. Afterward, Tahi approached Sarah and suggested that for a hefty sum of 100,000, she could get a personal meeting with Kong Jun, but Sarah had no idea how she would get such a large amount of money. That's when Tahi whispered something in her ear, revealing a secret. He told her that he was actually the young master of the largest financial group in the country, and that 100,000 was nothing to him. Relieved and grateful, Sarah smiled brightly, thankful that Tahi was helping to ease her burden. Despite the setback, Sarah returned home feeling doubtful about all the changes she had gone through. But Tahi comforted her, telling her not to give up. "We have 3 treasures," he said. "The most beautiful face, the smartest mind, and to broken hearts." Energized, Sarah thought of a new revenge plan. This time, their focus was on getting close to her ex-mother-in-law. During the charity event held by Kong Chun's parents, the musician fell ill, giving Sarah the perfect opportunity to step in and take their place. Her performance impressed everyone, earning her a good reputation in the family. Meanwhile, Kong Jun found himself unable to concentrate at work. The memory of Sarah helping him find his lost bracelet the other day lingered, causing a flutter in his heart. That evening, Sarah stayed at a house near her mother-in-law's and decided to deliver a cake to her ex-husband's sister. The sister was struck by Sarah's stunning beauty and quickly developed a fondness for her. Soon after, Sarah's father-in-law arrived home, recognizing her as the woman who had helped him earlier in the day. Realizing she was living nearby, he was pleased. At dinner that night, Kong Chun's entire family spoke highly of Sarah. His younger sister couldn't stop gushing about Sarah's looks and charm, while his parents also praised her. The more they talked, the more Kong Chun's feelings for Sarah intensified. The small spark of emotion in his heart had now turned into a burning flame. Unable to hold back any longer, Kong Jun called Sarah and asked her to meet him for a walk. Tahi and Sarah exchanged a knowing glance. Smiling, the fish was hooked. Kong Jun was in an excited mood as he prepared to meet Sarah. When his fiancée, Chaein, called, he ignored it, too eager to see Sarah. Meanwhile, Chaein was driving and noticed Kong Jun hadn't picked up her call, so she left him a message. By the time Kong Jun arrived at the meeting spot, Sarah was already waiting for him, looking stunning. The two exchanged smiles, but while Sarah outwardly greeted him warmly, in her heart she was sarcastically calling him husband. Kong Jun, unable to hide his excitement, confessed that he had missed her. As they stood together, Chaein drove by and spotted them from a distance. She quickly recognized the woman with Kong Jun. It was the same woman she had seen at the charity event. Jealousy stirred within her. Tahi, hiding behind a nearby bridge, watched the whole scene unfold. His gaze shifted between Sarah and Kong Jun and his old flame, Chaein. Everything was going according to plan, and Sarah and Kong Chun's relationship seemed to be growing stronger by the day. That night, Kong Jun asked Sarah to go for a drive. As the car cruised along a certain road, Sarah suddenly recalled the car accident she had been in before her surgery. The traumatic scene played vividly in her mind, causing her to tense up. As they approached the spot where she had once crashed into the water, Kong Jun mentioned that this road was known for being dangerous due to its sharp turns. The memory of the accident overwhelmed Sarah, and she let out a terrified scream, gripping her seatbelt tightly with both hands. The two of them woke up in the car after spending the night there. Kong Jun gave Sarah some advice. When things go wrong, it's better not to run away. That way you won't live in fear. Later, in the room, Kong Jun took out a lighter to light a candle. As soon as Sarah saw the flame, memories of the traumatic incident flashed in her mind, and she became overwhelmed with fear. Her body turned cold with anxiety, and Kong Jun hurried to get her some medicine. At that moment, Sarah recalled the day of the accident. Her sister had mentioned that their younger sibling had taken her own life due to overwhelming despair. This triggered Sarah to confront Chaeyeon, who also confirmed that Kong Chun's ex-wife had supposedly committed suicide, although her body had never been found and a funeral had already been held. These inconsistencies began to trouble Sarah. Why did everyone say it was a suicide when she knew it had been a car accident? Determined to get to the truth, Sarah decided to investigate. She went to the place where Kong Chun's father volunteered and inquired about his late daughter-in-law. He told Sarah that after leaving behind a will, the daughter-in-law had committed suicide by jumping into the sea. The sadness in his voice surprised Sarah. Unsure of what to believe, she confided in Tahi, who agreed to help her uncover the truth. Meanwhile, Kong Chun's fiancé, Kun, in an attempt to assert her dominance, invited both Sarah and Tahi to a family dinner at Kong Chun's house. Sensing an opportunity, Sarah and Tahi decided to use the event to investigate the mystery behind the will. At the dinner party, the family appeared cheerful on the surface, but it was clear everyone had their own hidden agendas. Sarah used this moment to question her sisters-in-law about the will and managed to sneak a look at it on the computer. To her shock, the will had been sent to Kong Chun's email from Sarah's own email address, stating she was worthless and that all her assets should go to her husband. Realizing she had been deceived, Sarah secretly entered Kong Chun's room and found the ownership papers for the 2,000 square meters of land her father had left her. But the documents showed that the land had been transferred to Kong Jun. With the truth now in hand, Sarah and Tahi left the house. On the way back, Tahi, having learned the full story, was outraged on Sarah's behalf. The 2,000 square meters represented a massive fortune. As they drove, distant headlights caught their attention, and Sarah recognized the license plate, triggering memories of the accident. She recalled swerving to avoid an oncoming car, which led to the crash. The occupants of that car were Chaeyeon and Kong Jun. Sarah was devastated as the truth became clear. Realizing the kind of person Kong Jun really was, she resolved to stop being naive. Meanwhile, Sarah's mother refused to believe her daughter had committed suicide. In her quest to find proof, she faced cruel opposition. The Lyons family snatched the investigation report from her hands and, after reading it, Sarah's heartless mother-in-law threw the report back in her face. Unable to stand by any longer, Sarah's best friend stood up to her mother-in-law, which led to a physical confrontation. Sarah's mother-in-law even slapped her friend across the face. Witnessing this, Sarah, watching from nearby, was overcome with sadness as she saw her mother being mistreated. Things escalated when Sarah's mother-in-law pushed both her mother and best friend to the ground. Unable to control herself, Sarah wanted to intervene, but Tahi held her back, urging her to stay calm and not act rashly. Just then, Kong Jun returned home. He saw his mother-in-law crying in pain at the entrance, but chose to stand back and watch from a distance, unmoved. The following day, after calming down, Sarah went to visit her mother, only to find that she had moved out. Upon learning more, Sarah discovered that Kong Jun had purchased the house and forced her mother out. A photo of her mother was broken, and Sarah was consumed by anger and regret. She blamed herself for not seeing Kong Chun's true nature sooner. Overcome with emotion, Sarah sat in a corner and cried bitterly, unable to hold it in any longer. That evening, Kong Jun came to find Sarah, but she was still furious and shouted at him to leave. Confused and upset, Kong Jun left in frustration. Angered by the situation, he called Chaeyeon and asked her to meet him. Chaeyeon took Kyun to the spot where everything involving Sarah happened. She told Kyun that she was aware of his feelings for Sarah, but wasn't worried because the day Kyun's wife died, she saw it all. Sarah had wanted to make Kyun and Chaeyeon's relationship public, which led to an argument. Chaeyeon secretly followed them. In the end, Kyun intentionally turned off the car's lights and drove in the wrong direction. As the car approached, the lights suddenly turned back on, startling Sarah, who swerved the steering wheel, causing her to crash. Chaeyeon reassured Kyun not to worry, saying she wouldn't reveal anything. They were the same type of people. After speaking, she flashed an evil smile. The wedding day of Kyun and Chaeyeon arrived, and Sarah and Tahi watched from afar, uncomfortable as they saw the bright smiles on the couple's faces. They knew their revenge had only just begun. Back home, Sarah and Tahi analyzed every weakness of Kyun's family, designing the perfect revenge plot. The next day, Sarah brought delicious food to Kyun's family and returned to their home to retrieve clothes she had forgotten during her last visit. While the three women ate, Sarah seized the moment to search upstairs. First, she looked for evidence of her sister-in-law's illegal trading, then went to another sister's room, finding a loan shark's documents and a computer. Before leaving, she discovered a photo of her mother-in-law having an affair and took a snapshot, anonymously sending it to her father-in-law. She also placed a wiretap under the table in Kyun's room and threw one of her old earrings under his pillow, signaling the beginning of her battle. Before leaving, Sarah met her mother-in-law to say goodbye, mentioning that her daughter-in-law Chaeyeon was much more beautiful than her former, overweight daughter-in-law. Upon hearing this, Sarah sarcastically exclaimed that she was considered dead before her surgery. As her mother-in-law continued to badmouth her, Sarah's father-in-law returned home. Furious, he grabbed a slipper and threw it at his wife, then pulled out his phone, demanding to know the identity of the man in the picture. Their daughter stepped in to protect her mother. Sarah used the chaos to present a loan note she found from the husband's brother, showing his car had been used as collateral. Enraged after reading it, the father kicked his daughter, who nervously excused the loan, claiming it was to help with her sister's illegal purchases. Seeing her goal was achieved, Sarah triumphantly left. When Kyun and Chaeyeon returned home, they found Kyun's sisters being punished by kneeling before their father. He told Kyun and Chaeyeon to go upstairs, as it had nothing to do with them. As they entered their room, Chaeyeon expressed her frustration, complaining that on her first day home, her father-in-law caused a scene. Later that night, Kyun informed Chaeyeon that his mother and sisters were being punished and asked her to cook rice. Chaeyeon, annoyed, said that if she started cooking on the first day, she would have to do it every day. Meanwhile, Sarah and Tahi eavesdropped on the conversation and decided to reappear. Sarah brought a luxurious dinner, charming Kyun's parents even more. Afterward, Kyun grabbed Sarah's arm, questioning her intentions. In response, Sarah slapped him across the face with all her strength. Meanwhile, Tahi snuck into Kyun's company restroom, connected to the company's network, and accessed his personal email. Tahi then sent a virus email to all of Kyun's employees, and feeling it wasn't enough, sent the virus to Kyun's friends as well. After finishing everything, Tahi looked in the mirror and noticed how the irritation caused by Kyun seemed to vanish instantly. Early the next morning, Kong Chun's two younger sisters approached him, asking what kind of email he had sent that caused their iPads and computers to freeze. Later, Kong Jun went to work, where Tae-hee confronted him, asking if Kong Jun had a personal grudge against him for sending a virus-infected email. Kong Jun was too hurt to respond, and could only watch as Tae-hee walked away. Upon arriving at the office, Kong Jun was scolded by his boss, who demanded to know what email he had sent, as it had caused the loss of important company documents. With only 5 days left before the shareholders' meeting, his boss warned him of the severe consequences if the files couldn't be restored. Meanwhile, at home, Chaeyeon was tidying the bed when she found an earring under the pillow that clearly wasn't hers. She remembered seeing Sarah wearing the same pair of earrings. Realizing something was wrong, Chaeyeon quickly called Kong Jun. Busy dealing with the company's virus issues, Kong Jun brushed off her concerns about the earring and mentioned that he would be working late and not coming home. Angered, Chaeyeon snapped, accusing him of abandoning their marriage just 2 days after the wedding. She hung up the phone in frustration, while Kong Jun was equally furious. At home, Chaeyeon threw her phone in anger, thinking she had never dealt with such a man before. On the other side, Sarah and Tae-hee overheard the entire conversation and exchanged satisfied looks. Deciding to celebrate, they drank and reminisced about the hardships they had faced. Tae-hee, more clear-headed than ever after drinking, suddenly found himself falling for Sarah, realizing his feelings for her had changed. Sarah later brought Kong Jun a program to help fix the virus on his computer, leaving him surprised. Kong Jun had been so overwhelmed by the virus that he hadn't returned home in 3 days. Sarah's unexpected appearance was like a blessing in disguise. Meanwhile, Chaeyeon was still furious that her newlywed husband hadn't come home, but her mother-in-law forced her to clean the house and pile up the dishes in the kitchen. She also demanded Chaeyeon finish cooking dinner before her father-in-law returned. Feeling like she had become nothing more than a housekeeper in Kong Chun's family, Chaeyeon grew more frustrated. At the company, Sarah not only brought the USB with the program, but also prepared a hearty meal for Kong Jun. She even brought him a new shirt, further confusing him with her kindness. Sarah then confessed that she wanted to be with Kong Jun, claiming she had always liked him. Despite her disgust, she forced herself to say these words to her deceitful ex-husband, and Kong Jun believed her. Chaeyeon, meanwhile, arrived at the office to see Kong Jun, but Sarah noticed her and made a point of touching Kong Jun provocatively. Upon seeing this, Chaeyeon invited Sarah to the rooftop, where the two women began to fight. In the middle of the night, Chaeyeon demanded to know why Sarah was at the office. Sarah boldly admitted that she missed Kong Jun and came to visit. Chaeyeon mocked her for being shameless, but Sarah retorted that she was far more shameless than Chaeyeon could ever be. Sarah reminded Chaeyeon of how she had once begged her to let her keep her husband, but now it was Chaeyeon's turn to beg. Chaeyeon, refusing to back down, told Sarah that she had no right to interfere. Sarah, however, confidently declared that she would make Chaeyeon divorce Kong Jun within 3 weeks, the same amount of time it had taken her to learn about Kong Jun and Chaeyeon's affair before her life fell apart. As Sarah began to leave, Chaeyeon, enraged, tried to stop her, but was shoved to the ground by a stronger Sarah. After returning home, Chaeyeon told Kong Jun about Sarah's behavior. He, however, said he was exhausted and wanted to go for a walk. He grabbed his coat and left. Sarah, having overheard their conversation, knew her opportunity had come. She picked up her own coat and followed after him. Kong Jun had only taken a few steps when he noticed a scarf fall to the ground. He picked it up and called out to the girl ahead, only to realize it was Sarah. They sat down on a nearby bench, and Kong Jun made flirtatious remarks from years ago. Sarah, hiding her disgust, listened before returning home. She told Tae-hee about the day's events, and together they decided to escalate their revenge plan, ensuring that this storm would grow even stronger and destroy everything in its path. Sarah and her accomplice then attended her ex-husband's press conference, planning to ruin his reputation. The day before, Sarah had met with her mother and best friend, delivering an intimate photo of her and her ex-husband taken after surgery. She explained that, just like her mother had been a victim. As the press conference began, Sarah's mother and best friend barged in, loudly accusing Kong Jun. They condemned him for being with another woman so soon after Sarah's passing, questioning his humanity. When Kong Jun attempted to speak privately with them, Sarah's best friend raised the incriminating photo of him being intimate with someone else, leaving Kong Jun speechless. Newlywed Chaeyeon witnessed the scene, grabbed the photo, and, recognizing the woman, insisted it was a fake and nothing more than a collage. She quickly chased them away. At that moment, Kong Chun's superiors entered the hall, but Sarah and Tae-hee saw an opportunity. They activated the confetti cannon, and the photos rained down across the hall. Kong Chun's boss saw a picture of him kissing another woman and flew into a rage, ruining the company's most crucial press conference. Kong Jun, ashamed, hung his head like a child caught in the wrong, unable to face anyone. Back at the office, Kong Jun was already seething, venting all his anger. Chaeyeon confronted him, asking when he had kissed Sarah and how far it had gone. Still furious, Kong Jun shouted that it wasn't important right now, leaving Chaeyeon to storm off in anger. Meanwhile, Sarah initiated the second phase of her plan. She pressed a button to activate a virus, and Kong Chun's office screens automatically opened, displaying the face of his deceased ex-wife. All the monitors lit up, showing Ji-ran greeting Kong Jun, sending him into a panic. Terrified, Kong Jun bolted out of the office. Later, at home, Kong Chun's father, realizing his son had messed up, lashed out in anger, blaming the family for keeping everything hidden. That evening, when Kong Jun returned home, he found the house in chaos and asked Chaeyeon where everyone had gone. Chaeyeon coldly replied that she had been scolded by his father and that everyone had left. Then, in a fit of rage, Chaeyeon slapped Kong Jun, crying and accusing him of being the cause of all their problems. Seeking comfort, Kong Jun found Sarah and pulled her into his arms, telling her how hurt he was and how much he needed her. Sarah took Kong Jun to her home, and for a moment, his troubled heart found some peace. But in an instant, Kong Jun noticed his mother and two younger sisters sitting on Sarah's sofa. It turned out they were too afraid to face his father and had sought refuge in Sarah's house. The next morning, Sarah overheard their conversation. She learned that Kong Jun hadn't married her out of love, but because he had no other choice at the time. Kong Jun had recently acquired a 2,000 square meter plot of land, and his brother-in-law joked that they were lucky his ugly sister-in-law had passed away. If she were still alive and knew about these events, she would be heartbroken. His mother chimed in, saying that if that fat woman hadn't died, she would still be bullied. After these callous remarks, the mother and daughter laughed and joked together, much to Sarah's anger. Seething, Sarah prepared revenge by giving the family pills and later wrote on Kong Chun's bedroom mirror, "I know you killed your ex-wife." She was consumed with hatred, furiously expressing her rage. Tae-hee, seeing her so distraught, was heartbroken. He believed that letting her vent might help her feel better. After she released her anger, Tae took Sarah to her favorite goat rib restaurant, assuring her that today she didn't need to worry about her figure. She could eat as much as she wanted, as long as her heart felt at ease. He promised to do anything she desired. Stepping outside to avoid any unwanted trouble, Tae ordered his juniors to clean out Kong Chun's house. That evening, when Kong Jun returned home, he saw the message written on the mirror. Assuming it was Chaeyeon's doing, after their morning argument, he grew even more frustrated. Kun mentioned she had something to show him, and Kong Jun, in a fit of anger, pulled her over. When they both saw the writing, Kun was equally shocked and insisted she wasn't responsible. At that moment, Chaeyeon recalled seeing Sarah fall into the water but didn't rescue her, making her an accomplice. She couldn't believe she'd been part of something so foolish. Kong Jun, frustrated, slapped her. Chaeyeon furiously declared that she no longer wanted to stay with Kong Jun. Meanwhile, Sarah had been eavesdropping on their conversation and was taken aback. She hadn't realized Chaeyeon was involved in her downfall, which only deepened her hatred for the woman. Determined, she decided to accelerate her revenge plan. The next morning, Kong Jun received a package addressed from Gumran. Inside, there was a note that read, "Your husband and Chaeyeon are living happily. We will meet soon." After a few days of deliberation, Kong Jun came to the conclusion that his mother-in-law was behind it. He ordered his subordinates to have her committed to a mental hospital and sign the consent papers as her son-in-law. Later, Sarah agreed to go shopping with Kong Jun, while Tae, her accomplice, secretly coordinated with her. As Sarah went into the fitting room to try on some clothes, Tae used Sarah's voice to send a text to Kong Jun. When Kong Jun received the message, supposedly from the ex-wife he had murdered, he was both shocked and terrified. The sender knew that he wasn't with Chaeyeon, but was instead with Sarah. Kong Jun quickly distanced himself from Sarah and called his subordinate, who confirmed that the mother-in-law had indeed been sent to the mental hospital as per his instructions. Realizing he had misjudged the situation, Kong Chun's mind was in turmoil. In the car, lost in thought, Kong Jun grew more unsettled. Sarah noticed and offered him some cake she had just bought. As she rummaged through her bag, she came across a box of rings and a photograph. Curious, she showed them to Kong Jun, who immediately recognized the ring. It was the one he had shared with his ex-wife. But how had it ended up in the car? The more Kong Jun thought about it, the more anxious he became. His nerves were frayed, and in his panic, he nearly caused an accident. Sarah, sensing his distress, tried to calm him, suggesting they rest for a while before continuing their journey. That evening, after a brief rest, Kong Jun confessed his love for Sarah, telling her he wanted to be with her forever. They got back into the car, but then the vehicle ahead suddenly turned on its headlights. At the same moment, Kong Jun received another text message, "Husband, I'm in the car in front, watching you." The message was followed by an accusation from his ex-wife. Suddenly, the car opposite them turned on its bright lights, and the scene of Kong Jun harming his wife began replaying in his mind. The car in front then sped towards them, and just as they were about to collide, it swerved away at the last second. Kong Jun, furious, got out of his car and shouted, demanding to know who was behind it. In the next instant, he was struck on the head with a wooden stick. When Kong Jun regained consciousness, he found himself tied up and unable to move. His ex-wife's voice echoed in the background, recounting the entire plot that led to her death, all orchestrated by Kong Jun. In his madness, Kong Jun screamed that he had killed her once and he could kill her again. Just then, his deceased wife walked out, sending Kong Jun into a state of terror, causing him to faint. In reality, it was Sarah impersonating his ex-wife. Tae, standing by, revealed that they had gathered all the evidence, including recordings, and planned to hand everything over to the police, completing their mission to bring Kong Jun down. Kong Jun was brought back home, and Sarah informed his parents about his condition. Suddenly, Kong Jun remembered his ex-wife and fainted. Chaeyeon, upset by Kong Chun's behavior, left in anger and was taken home by her brother. Holding back her tears, she quickly entered her room, only to discover that Sarah, her rival, was tending to her husband. Shocked and furious, Chaeyeon lashed out at Sarah, demanding she leave. Sarah, unfazed, calmly poured a bucket of dirty water over Chaeyeon's head. Fuming, Chaeyeon stormed downstairs and confronted her in-laws, saying, "I've only been gone a few days, and there's already another woman in the room." Her in-laws brushed off her complaints with vague responses. Enraged, Chaeyeon left the house. Upstairs, Sarah heard her best friend looking for her mother and seized the opportunity to slip out and ask what was wrong. Noticing how worried Sarah seemed about Gong Ran's mother, the clever woman sensed something amiss and decided to investigate further. Meanwhile, after her surgery, the fat woman had been filmed by a passerby, and the video went viral overnight, making her an internet sensation. The restaurant where Sarah worked was also swarmed by reporters. Min Hu, the president of the country's largest media group, personally invited her to a meeting. On her first day trying out the media equipment, Min Hu gave her flowers, unaware that he was the company president. Sarah, unaware of his true identity, casually encouraged him to work hard and not miss work just to visit her. In the hallway, Sarah bumped into Kong Jun, who also worked there, and they exchanged a few words. Kong Jun became increasingly intrigued by Sarah, now not only beautiful, but also famous. As he expressed his interest in Sarah, Chaeyeon, who was working as an MC, saw the two of them together and furiously dragged her husband back to the office. She scolded him for being involved with another woman, especially at work. Kong Jun bluntly admitted that he loved Sarah. Hearing this, Chaeyeon was devastated, but Kong Jun calmly explained that Sarah was special to him. Tears welled up in Chaeyeon's eyes. She didn't even know who Sarah truly was, but her husband already seemed to be captivated by her. Driven by suspicion, Chaeyeon decided to secretly investigate Sarah. After some digging, Chaeyeon found a photo of Gong Ran and visited a cosmetic surgeon. Under pressure, the surgeon reluctantly revealed the truth. Sarah was actually her husband's deceased ex-wife, having undergone surgery. With this shocking revelation, Kong Jun proposed divorcing Chaeyeon and asked her to move out of the house. Chaeyeon, now seeing her husband's true colors, felt no need to reveal the truth to him. She decided to use the secret knowledge as leverage for her revenge. Later, in the hallway, Chaeyeon encountered Sarah once again, and anger flared within her. She mocked Sarah, sarcastically saying, "You think you're happy now that you have everything?" Sarah, undeterred, responded that she intended to become even more famous and happier than Chaeyeon. Chaeyeon, knowing the truth, threatened Sarah, vowing she wouldn't forgive her. The battle between the two women had officially begun. Meanwhile, Chaeyeon's clever mother-in-law, taking advantage of a nurse's mistake, managed to steal a phone and leak information. Sarah quickly received the news and rushed to the hospital, but Tae-hee, ever cautious, didn't trust Sarah's impulsiveness and worried about what might happen at the hospital door. He ran into Kong Jun, Sarah's sleazy ex-husband. This time, Kong Jun had come to pressure his mother-in-law to find out who was scheming against him. Tae-hee, concerned, called Sarah, but to his surprise, Sarah, eager to see her mother, hung up before he could finish warning her. Sensing danger, Tae-hee dragged Sarah into hiding. Once home, he scolded her for being reckless, though he was clearly worried about her. Sarah, desperate to save her mother, lashed out at Tae-hee, accusing him of not taking better care of her. "You can take care of me for a while, but you can't do it for my whole life," she argued. Tae-hee, already angry, was now furious at Sarah, who still didn't grasp the gravity of the situation. The next day, Tae-hee disguised himself as a hospital staff member, sneaking in to meet Sarah's mother. He revealed his true identity, earning her trust and successfully rescuing her. Meanwhile, Sarah had managed to obtain the address of the prison where Tae's grandmother was held. Secretly, she went to meet the grandmother, not revealing that her grandson was alive, but offering her words of encouragement instead. Later, when Sarah visited her mother in the hospital and saw her peacefully sleeping, she sincerely thanked Tae-hee. That evening, the two of them shared what had happened during the day: Sarah's visit to the grandmother and Tae's rescue of her mother. This deepened their bond even further, and under Sarah's influence, Tae resolved to overcome his heartbreak and save his grandmother. The next day, Sarah visited the grandmother again, bringing her some bread. The grandmother, upon looking at the bread closely, still didn't believe her grandson was alive. Sarah shared more stories about her and Tae, bringing tears to the grandmother's eyes. On the other hand, Tae visited Winter Corporation, planning to slip past security and meet with Minik, the president of the corporation. Minik, the eldest son of a concubine, had sent Tae's grandmother to prison in his bid to become president. Tae, asserting his identity, warned Minik to release his grandmother, promising not to challenge him for the presidency if he complied. The scene shifted, with Minik calling Kong Jun to arrange an emergency meeting the following day, preparing to make a major announcement before the chairman. Tae, upon receiving the news, sank into deep thought, his psychological trauma from the past weighing heavily on him. Thinking about it all made him nearly faint. Luckily, Sarah was there to support him, helping him through the panic. Sarah and Tae officially started dating, and Tae wanted to make it a special experience. He took Sarah to experience an elite lifestyle, but to his surprise, Sarah preferred the simplicity of home life, saying, "Watching a play isn't better than cooking and washing clothes at home." Tae-hee, wanting to impress her, took her to a jewelry store to buy her a necklace, but Sarah declined, insisting it wasn't necessary. She then dragged him to a supermarket, eager to try some snacks. Sarah enjoyed them so much that she gave some to Tae-hee, who jokingly said they'd have to rely on snacks to feel full. Sarah agreed, savoring the moment, and Tae-hee shyly complimented the stall owner. Tae-hee, feeling embarrassed, tried to slip away, but Sarah dragged him to taste some desserts. Just then, they overheard a promotional sale advertisement, which caught Sarah's attention. When they got home, Tae-hee, frustrated, complained that he had worn such formal clothes for their date, only for them to end up at a big sale. He blamed Sarah for ruining the romantic date he had planned. Hurt, Sarah explained that this was the real her, someone who gets excited over discounts and lives for the moment, rather than fancy dates. She admitted that, despite her outward appearance, she was still the same girl she had been before the plastic surgery. Tae-hee comforted her, saying he knew exactly who she was. But Sarah, feeling insecure, told him that he was just like other men who only liked her new, beautiful appearance after the surgery, not the girl she used to be. Her words left Tae-hee confused, making him question his own feelings. The next day, to prove his love for Sarah, Tae-hee wore a hypnosis device and forced himself to confront memories of her before her cosmetic surgery, showing her that his feelings for her went deeper than just her appearance. He slowly opened his eyes, and Sarah looked stunning to him now, though he could still recall the chubby girl she used to be before the surgery. They started making bread together again, and Sarah pleaded with Tae-hee to help her, but he tried to find an excuse to avoid it. Sarah reminded him that they used to do it together, so why not now? Feeling guilty, Tae-hee finally agreed, listening to Sarah speak and sensing her inner emotions. He was beginning to accept Sarah for who she was before the surgery. When sunflower accidentally stuck to her forehead, Tae-hee, as usual, helped her clean it off. Meanwhile, Chaeyeon confronted Kong-joon, warning him to finalize their divorce within 3 weeks, as she needed to execute her plan. She had already moved out, but now returned to her husband's house. Her mother-in-law, furious, sarcastically remarked that Chaeyeon was treating the house like a hotel, arriving and leaving at her convenience. Chaeyeon retorted loudly, saying, "To daughters-in-law, one dead, one divorced, and now they want Kong-joon to marry for a third time." Her mother-in-law was stunned by Chaeyeon's arrogance. The scene shifted as Kong-joon left the company. The police suddenly detained him, thanks to the additional evidence Sarah had provided, proving he had abused her. During a winter group shareholder meeting, Chaeyeon took center stage, announcing that the meeting would determine the next chairman. She glanced around, noticing that Kong-joon, who was key to the company's operations, was absent, unaware that he was already behind bars. Minnick took over as chairman, having already secured the position behind the scenes, with the meeting being just a formality. Outside the meeting, Tae-hee, influenced by Sarah, had overcome his mental struggles and was determined to remove Minnick, the man responsible for sending his grandmother to prison. As the board of directors unanimously voted, Tae-hee walked in, declaring himself the rightful heir to the corporation. He presented a photo of him with his grandmother as proof, leaving everyone in shock. The question of the presidency had to be reconsidered. Chaeyeon, quick to act, approached Minnick and told him she was familiar with Tae-hee. She revealed that Tae-hee had been adopted by her father, and that she had always seen him as her older brother. After their parents passed, Tae-hee had taken care of both her and her brother. Minnick, after hearing this, became even more determined to dismiss Tae-hee, fearing his claim to the Winter Group's inheritance. Meanwhile, Chaeyeon secretly resolved to win over Tae-hee, seeing him as a prize worth capturing. As Tae-hee and Sarah talked sweetly, Tae-hee arranged to meet her at 10 o'clock to celebrate her birthday. Unfortunately, Chaeyeon overheard and became angry, confronting Tae-hee for not telling her about his identity sooner. She complained that she had been exhausted lately and asked Tae-hee to stay with her that night. But for the first time, Tae-hee refused her request, leaving Chaeyeon furious. She went straight to Sarah, demanding that she leave Tae-hee. Sarah, however, saw through Chaeyeon's manipulative ways, accusing her of only wanting to be with Tae-hee because he was now Winter's heir. Sarah firmly refused to let Chaeyeon get between them. That evening, Tae-hee told Sarah he was planning to confess his feelings for her, and if all went well, they would officially begin their relationship. However, during this time, Tae-hee received news that Chaeyeon had been in an accident. Chaeyeon assured him it was nothing serious, just a mild stomachache, but she knew about his appointment with Sarah and was deliberately trying to keep him away longer. True to his nature, Tae-hee didn't refuse her, but instead called his assistants to take Chaeyeon home. Meanwhile, Sarah arrived at their meeting spot on time, but Tae-hee was nowhere to be seen. Then she received a text from Chaeyeon, who told her that she was with Tae-hee and that Sarah didn't need to wait for him any longer. Heartbroken, Sarah was crushed by the news. Tae-hee, frantically driving to meet her, found that his phone had run out of battery and he had no way to contact her. When he finally reached the meeting place, Sarah was gone. Tae-hee suddenly remembered the painful reason why Sarah had once rejected him, her fear of another failed relationship. Sarah's heart remained closed, leaving Tae-hee with a deep sense of failure. He accidentally found her standing under the bridge and scolded her. "Aren't you afraid of freezing?" But Sarah had faith that Tae-hee would come looking for her, and when he did, the two shared a passionate kiss. Meanwhile, Kong Chun's father, after learning of his son's wrongdoings, decided to transfer 2,000 square meters of land that had belonged to his deceased daughter-in-law to her biological mother. Chaeyeon, upon hearing this from her mother-in-law, was displeased. She immediately tried to secure the rights to the land, even going so far as to take Kong Chun's personal seal. Kong Jun, who had just been released from prison due to his connections, was notified by the staff and immediately called Chaeyeon, demanding she return home. When she arrived, Kong Jun used force, angrily telling her that without his permission, she shouldn't even dream of obtaining the land. 3 weeks later, as she prepared to leave the house, Chaeyeon threatened Kong Jun, telling him, "You may like Sarah now, but you don't know her secret. Someday, you'll come begging me to reveal the truth." Kong Jun became suspicious of Sarah. When the doorbell rang, Sarah answered it, but no one was there. Taking advantage of her distraction, Kong Jun searched her belongings and confronted her, asking about her connection to his ex-wife. Why had his investigation into her led to his imprisonment? He confessed that Sarah was the only woman he had ever truly loved, but what Kong Jun didn't realize was that Sarah was his ex-wife, who had undergone cosmetic surgery. At the same time, Chaeyeon, realizing that Sarah was out for revenge, began searching for clues at home. Under a table, she discovered a wiretapping device planted by Sarah. She handed it to Kong Jun, revealing that Sarah had overheard their conversations, plotting to kill his ex-wife. Kong Jun, now in a frenzy, confronted Sarah again, demanding to know if his ex-wife was still alive. Sarah was shocked by the accusation, and as Kong Jun continued his frantic questioning, she fainted. Stunned, Kong Jun froze, worried he had been too forceful. Meanwhile, Tae-hee, who had been preparing to celebrate Sarah's birthday, couldn't reach her. Using a locator, he saw that Sarah was moving in the opposite direction. He followed the signal to a hotel, where he found Kong Jun with her. After venting his frustration, Tae-hee hugged Sarah and took her away to cheer her up. As Tae-hee, now the group's heir, personally went shopping for Sarah, she asked him to buy the last pumpkin. In the supermarket, Kong Jun heard a familiar song, the one his ex-wife used to sing while doing housework. Cornering Sarah, he became more convinced that she was his ex-wife. After conducting a thorough investigation, Kong Jun confirmed his suspicion by comparing Sarah's hair with his ex-wife's DNA. Sarah, now realizing the threat Kong Jun posed, decided not to remain passive. She went to her former mother-in-law's house and told them that Kong Jun had murdered his wife. The police had already investigated the case, and hearing this news from Sarah, a person they greatly respected, left everyone in shock. Just then, Kong Jun burst in, his eyes filled with fury, insisting that his family shouldn't worry, as someone was trying to defame him. In a private conversation with Sarah, Kong Jun reminded her that the house he lived in and the land he owned rightfully belonged to her. Sarah warned him that if he tried to stop her, both he and his family would be left homeless. Kong Jun was at a loss, unable to counter Sarah's threat. At that moment, Chaeyeon concocted a scheme, suggesting that if Minak had feelings for Sarah, he should be told that Sarah and Tae-hee were planning to get married. If Minak didn't act on this information, Chaeyeon threatened to expose Sarah's fake identity. Chaeyeon, sensing the inevitable outcome, had now guessed what was going to happen. The next morning, Kong Jun quickly spread the news about Sarah and Tae-hee. He emphasized that Tae's greatest weakness was Sarah's hidden identity, the very person even his grandmother trusted. How could Tae forgive her now? At the same time, Chun visited Tae's grandmother, tears streaming down her face, accusing Sarah of trapping Tae. She pleaded that she couldn't bear to see Tae fall into such a situation. Meanwhile, Tae and Sarah were at home, excitedly planning their beautiful future together, dreaming of their happiness. The following day, Taeha's grandmother confronted Sarah, saying she understood her character, but hoped she would step away from her beloved grandson. She explained that Taeha needed to focus on leading the corporation and couldn't afford any scandals. Sarah, being kind-hearted, chose not to argue or explain herself. Taeha had been joyfully preparing for their wedding like an excited child, but then he received a phone call. After hanging up, he rushed out but reminded his assistant to protect Sarah, as someone who knew about her fake identity had surfaced. Time passed, and Sarah and the assistant anxiously awaited Taeha's return, but Taeha had been attacked and was now lying in a coma at the hospital. Everyone placed the blame on Sarah. She was devastated and blamed herself, sitting in the hospital hallway, praying for Taeha's recovery. Late at night, when no one was around, Sarah sneaked into Taeha's hospital room, holding his hand and reminiscing about their happier times. The next day, Chaeyeon entered the room, saw Sarah with Taeha, and angrily kicked her out, saying, "You've already hurt Taeha. Isn't that enough?" Sarah didn't respond to her. Just then, Taeha's fingers moved, and after the doctor's examination, it was revealed that Taeha's consciousness was gradually returning. The doctor told Taeha's grandmother that his quick recovery was miraculous and attributed it to the woman who stayed by his side all night. The doctor even suggested that Sarah continue taking care of him to speed up his recovery. Meanwhile, Minnick and his team were planning how to handle the situation, as it was widely known that he and Taeha were competing for the position of president. Minnick decided to act first and held a press conference, expressing his outrage on Taeha's behalf. He vowed to find the culprit responsible for Taeha's condition. Chun, not sitting idly, provoked Kongjun by saying that while Sarah was taking care of Taeha at the hospital, he was doing nothing at home. She implied that Sarah and Taeha would soon be married. Enraged, Kongjun stormed to confront Sarah, threatening her and saying that he wouldn't allow her to marry Taeha. Furious, Sarah, no longer the shy, insecure girl she once was, slapped Kongjun. He warned her that the more defiant she became, the more danger Taeha would face. That evening, Minnick's subordinates were instructed not to let Taeha speak. As they planned something malicious, Sarah quickly alerted a nurse to help Taeha escape before anything worse could happen. Exhausted, Sarah crawled into Taeha's lap and fell asleep in his arms. Later, at Minnick's company, he approached Sarah and ordered her, under the company's authority, to go abroad for training as soon as possible. He warned her that if she didn't, Taeha would face even bigger threats. Desperate to protect Taeha, Sarah agreed to Minnick's demands. Soon, Taeha was discharged from the hospital and they returned to their small home, filled with love. One evening, while they were having dinner together, Sarah suddenly told Taeha that if she ever disappeared, he should live a happy life. Taeha, not taking her words seriously, brushed it off. Sarah, however, was silently in pain. She called Taeha's grandmother, informing her that she was leaving and didn't want Taeha to be alone. She hoped his grandmother would take care of him. Early the next morning, Taeha pushed open the door and realized Sarah was gone. When he tried calling her, her phone was off. Sarah was already at the airport, preparing to leave the country under Minnick's supervision. By the time Taeha arrived at the airport, the staff informed him that Sarah's flight had already taken off. Meanwhile, Chaeyeon, who had obtained a memory card with incriminating information, threatened her husband. She demanded he transfer the 2,000 square meters of land to her name, or she would expose the details during a board meeting. Chaeyeon, a well-known MC, held a press conference, tearfully accusing her husband of his crimes, hoping to ruin his reputation. On the other side, Taeha was left to confront the harsh reality that the woman he loved had left him. Gradually, he sank into despair, still resenting Sarah for not saying goodbye. The scene shifted as Sarah decided not to go abroad, but instead returned to her hometown with her mother. While there were moments of heartbreak, the time spent with her family brought her joy as well. During a company meeting, it was unanimously decided that Kongchun's actions had tarnished the company's reputation, resulting in a temporary suspension for 3 months. Upon hearing the verdict, Kongjun was in disbelief, wondering how such a day could have come for him. Chaeyeon, noticing Kongchun's lack of action, sought him out and gave him an ultimatum. He had 5 hours to transfer the land to her. Kongjun, now suspended, argued that the land should be split equally between them. Chaeyeon, however, stood firm, gave him an hour to reconsider, and then walked away. Later, Chaeyeon called her sister-in-law and sent an email. When they opened it, they were shocked. It was a dashcam video capturing Kongchun's plot to harm Sarah. The next day, In fear of the video being leaked, Kongjun handed over the land transfer documents to Chaein, who smiled triumphantly at her success. However, Tun's resentment toward her grew stronger. Meanwhile, Tae-hee missed Sarah deeply and, through a close friend, discovered that she had never gone abroad. He got her address and went to see her, not to disturb her, but to watch her from afar with affection in his eyes. After Tae-hee left, Minnick visited the same place, as Sarah's ex-husband had secretly followed him. When no one was around, Sarah's ex-husband approached her, telling her that his work had been suspended, and that Chaein had taken the land she left behind. He demanded that Sarah clear his name, insisting that he never meant her harm, and urged her to help him regain the land. Otherwise, he vowed to stay and refused to leave. This encounter was one of the most forced situations Sarah had ever experienced. Two people who once loved each other deeply were now at odds. As they parted ways, Sarah found herself caught in a rivalry between her former lover and his competitor. In an elevator, Minnick couldn't resist making snide remarks about Tae-hee, while Sarah remained awkwardly silent. To outshine Tae-hee, Minnick decided to launch a fashion company and invited Sarah to be the first model. In response, Tae-hee chose to focus on his food company as his trump card in the competition for the presidency. However, he faced a dilemma: his chef had left, and he was struggling to find a replacement. Sarah, hearing about the situation, secretly returned to help by taking up her previous role, meticulously preparing the dishes. When Tae-hee learned that someone was assisting him, he decided to personally thank this mystery chef. Upon entering the kitchen, he didn't see anyone, but noticed the stove still on. For safety, Tae-hee approached to turn off the fire, but at that moment, Sarah rushed out and stopped him, explaining that she was cooking soup, and the fire couldn't be turned off yet. Seeing that the person helping him was Sarah, Tae-hee felt conflicted. Sarah, not wanting her efforts to go to waste, tried to explain that Minnick had sent her to assist. However, Tae-hee still found it difficult to let go of his feelings for Sarah. Silently, he sat in a corner, watching the woman he loved cook. When Sarah accidentally burned her hand, Tae-hee, just as he had always been, was heartbroken and immediately grabbed a towel to wrap her hand. Minnick witnessed this scene and was furious. The scene then shifted to Kongjun, who had just arrived home and was met with a slap from his father. Kongjun demanded to know why he was hit. It turned out that Chaein, in an attempt to blackmail him, had sent the incriminating video to his younger sister, but their father had seen it instead. The video revealed Kongchun's plan to harm Guman. Furious, his father kicked Kongjun out of the house. With nowhere else to go, Kongjun sat in his car, shouting in frustration. Meanwhile, Tae-hee was at a shopping center, working hard to sell freshly made rice balls, which were receiving great feedback from customers. From a distance, Sarah watched him in secret. Minnick, aware of the food company's success, saw his mother sitting nearby, visibly upset. However, Minnick remained unconcerned. Soon, the day to select the president arrived. The candidates took turns speaking, with Minnick going first. He proudly highlighted the success of both his fashion and food ventures. At the same time, Muck invited Sarah to join him, revealing that he had sent her to help Tae-hee sell rice balls. The success of the food company, he claimed, was also partly due to Sarah's efforts. Muck's speech was met with great enthusiasm from the audience. However, Sarah realized her goodwill had been exploited, and she went to explain things to Tae-hee. By now, Tae-hee had lost all trust in Sarah and turned away from her. Sarah then confronted Minnick, only to discover that he had achieved his goal and dropped his facade. He had been using Sarah to defeat Tae-hee. Sarah had left Tae-hee not because she no longer loved him, but to protect him from further harm. She had even helped him with the rice balls in hopes of aiding his bid for the presidency. But now, her heart had been manipulated by Minnick, and it had only hurt Tae-hee further. Shocked by the betrayal, Sarah asked if Tae's previous injury had been caused by Minnick. Confident in his victory, Minnick dropped all pretense and admitted to being responsible. Sarah was devastated. She had set out to protect Tae-hee and uncover the truth, but instead, she had been used to cause him even more pain. Despite everything, Tae-hee still loved Sarah. He begged Chaein not to reveal Sarah's true identity, but Chaein refused. When Tae-hee and Sarah met, she anxiously warned him to be careful of those around him, fearing he would be betrayed. Tae-hee, in turn, told her to stop coming to the company because Chaein was planning to expose her cosmetic surgery to the public. Though they both carried heartache, they still cared deeply for one another. The next day, Chaein brought forward documents related to hiring a new director and revealed to everyone that Sarah had undergone cosmetic surgery, using her new appearance to deceive others. The director, shocked by this revelation, reported it to higher-ups. Meanwhile, Muk continued pressing to uncover the connection between Kong Jun and Sarah. At this point, Chaeyeon's assistant handed over a document, and Muk instantly understood the truth. Sarah was Kong Chun's first wife, whom he had thought was dead. In reality, she had undergone surgery to assume a new identity. Tae-hee was the one who had performed the illegal surgery on her. Armed with the truth, Muk saw an opportunity to bring down Tae-hee. At this time, Sarah confronted Chaeyeon, pleading with her not to harm Tae-hee. Chaeyeon, however, dismissed her concerns, showing her true greed. Chaeyeon, focused only on her ambition, was willing to destroy anyone in her way, even her brother, Kong Jun. Later, on the stairs, Sarah ran into Kong Jun. Their conversation was overheard by Tae-hee, who quickly realized that both Kong Jun and Chaeyeon were aware of Sarah's true identity. It dawned on him that they must have been blackmailing Sarah. Remembering the past, Tae-hee started to understand that Sarah had likely approached Minnick and broken up with him to protect him, or perhaps because she was being coerced. With this new knowledge, Tae-hee sought Sarah out and shared his thoughts, blaming her for enduring everything on her own. He also told her that the happy memories they shared were what kept him going. Seeing how much Tae-hee still loved her, Sarah's eyes welled up with tears. Just then, her phone rang, and it was Minnick. Furious, he reminded Sarah that he had warned her not to meet with Tae-hee, and then hung up, racing toward them in his car. Fortunately, both Sarah and Tae-hee narrowly avoided being harmed. Afterward, Minnick found Sarah and furiously berated her. He warned her that if she saw Tae-hee again, he would make sure Tae-hee disappeared. Determined to protect Tae-hee, Sarah tried to keep her distance. In the surveillance room, Tae-hee reviewed footage of the car that had nearly hit them and discovered that it belonged to Minnick. Remembering the conversation between Sarah and Kong Jun that he had overheard, Tae-hee pieced together the full story. He was now sure that Sarah had been forced into this situation. Around this time, Sarah's best friend approached Tae-hee, telling him that Sarah had left a message but could no longer be reached. She then revealed the truth that Sarah had been blackmailed by Minnick and Kong Jun. Sarah was preparing to hold a press conference to finally reveal her identity. Tae-hee understood her intentions. Everything she did was meant to protect him. Tae-hee needed to act swiftly to stop her. When Chaeyeon learned that Sarah planned to hold a press conference, she immediately contacted Kong Jun. Upon hearing the news, Kong Jun quickly got up. Min-hoo also received word about the press conference, and his furious reaction was evident. Chaeyeon and Kong Jun met, and she warned that, if Sarah revealed everything from the past, it would expose the story of their past harm towards her and result in imprisonment. Chaeyeon urgently advised Kong Jun to come up with a solution quickly. Tae-hee, en route to the press conference, called Sarah and urged her to cancel it. He cautioned that if she revealed that she had undergone surgery, it would ruin her completely. She reassured him that she had never done anything for him before, and this was her final gift. She believed that only by doing this could she resolve all the threats she had faced. The press conference would proceed, and she intended to disclose all her secrets. Sarah, who once wanted to live a happy life and provide for her husband's studies abroad, would reveal how she was ultimately abandoned by her successful husband. He showed no compassion and plotted against her. His friend not only failed to help her, but also conspired with him, transferring her father's land into her name. Hearing these revelations, everyone in the studio was astonished. Chaeyeon was overwhelmed, and the scene erupted. Kong Jun, watching the broadcast from his home, feared recognition and fled. Chaeyeon remained in her room, anxious about what lay ahead, with her past pain and helplessness coming to light. Meanwhile, Muk and his team were discussing the G shareholders meeting, aiming to eliminate Tae-hee. Tae-hee and Sarah were also gathering evidence of Muk's misconduct. Sarah identified Muk as the person who had been at the hospital when Tae-hee was injured. They worked together to handle him delicately. Tae-hee pressured Muk for a confession, but found no results and seized his phone. Upon returning home, Tae-hee devised a clever plan. He intended to use Muk's phone to send a series of text messages. The first person to reply would be the one behind the plot. The manager, while dining with Muk's mother, received a text and immediately called Tae-hee. Tae-hee recorded the call, and upon hearing the voice, he felt a sense of familiarity. The next day, Tae-hee visited his grandmother, who recognized the watch he showed her as a reward from a company for meritorious service. An old subordinate of his grandmother confirmed that the manager's voice matched the one from the call. Tae-hee realized the connection and confirmed with his assistant that the phone number was indeed the manager's. The camera shifted to Kong Jun, who called Tae-hee, stating that he had the documents Tae-hee wanted. The condition for exchange was that Tae-hee help him obtain a passport so he could flee abroad. Kong Jun then contacted Minnick, instructing him to meet Tae-hee On the day of the meeting, Tae-hee was set to meet Kong Jun alone, unaware that it was a trap. During the shareholders' meeting, Muk reassured his mother that he would become president and called his subordinates to inquire about his competitor, Tae-hee. The response was that Tae-hee had been dealt with an hour earlier. Tae's grandmother, uneasy, was approached by someone who admitted wrongdoing and mentioned Minnick's desire to replicate the chemical factory explosion from 28 years ago. Tae faced danger once more during the meeting. Muk, opposed by 67% of the votes, found himself in a weak position. He pounded the table, claiming it was impossible, but faced shareholder objections and criticism. Minnick, holding on to victory, remained calm and addressed the misunderstandings. He declared himself as the sole competitor for the president position. As shareholders continued their discussions, Tae entered, surprising Minnick and his mother with his health and presence. Before arriving at the warehouse, Tae had called the police, anticipating danger. At this moment, the manager bowed to Muk's mother, revealing that their conversation was exposed. The police swiftly arrived, issuing arrest warrants for the failed killing and the explosion from 28 years ago. The truth was revealed, and Muk faced the consequences of his actions. Tae successfully competed for the president position and shared the news with Sarah. They proceeded to arrest Kong Jun together. In the police station, Kong Chun's father expressed relief that Sarah was alive, while Kong Chun's dad vowed not to spare him. They both cried, reflecting on their past. The police then informed Chaeyeon of Kong Chun's arrest. Chaeyeon also needed to investigate. Tae and Sarah, having dealt with their enemies, prepared for their future. Soon, their wedding day arrived, with everyone dressed beautifully and joy filling the air. Tae and Sarah, having endured much suffering, finally reached a happy ending. This is the end of the story. Now goodbye and see you again in the next videos.